Our next speaker is Iramaya de Santana, and she's going to speak to us about an evaluation of the artisanal fisheries based on reproduction information of lane snapper in the northern coast of Brazil.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Iramaya de Santana, and I'm doing my PhD thesis in the Institute of Marine Research in Vigo with France, and I'm going to talk about the artisanal fisheries in Bahia, Brazil. I'm studying the reproductive biology of some reef fish species, and in this presentation, I would focus on one of them, the land snapper. We want to use the reproduction information of these species as a tool to improve their management. This is the outline of my presentation: artisanal fisheries, reproductive biology of snappers, how the reproductive information of this species can to use as a tool to improve their management, and some recommendations. Okay, in the last decades, the artisanal fisheries has received attention from many researchers and the international community for three possible reasons. The first one, the artisanal fisheries contribute about 30% of the total world catch for human consumption. The second one is that artisanal fisheries are the future of the world fishing in an economy model based on the high cost of fuels. In the artisanal fisheries or small-scale fisheries, it takes more or less around 2 and 5 tons of oil to produce 20 tons of fish. And in the opposite side, the large-scale fisheries is 1 ton to produce about 1 ton of fish. And the third reason is that the artisanal fishers nowadays, for the artisanal fishers nowadays, many researchers are working to change the traditional vision of small-scale fishers that has been presented in many publications with stress. A marginal sector support for marginalized people. The small-scale fishers has many different forms or many different ways to can be defined. In this study, we consider small-scale fishers those fishers with the boats exploit the resource in a range of 50 kilometers far from the coast and up to 200 meters of deep. In addition, the artisanal fisheries in Bahia, our case study, we can have the small size of vessels between 4 to 10 meters, the gross registered tonnage from 200 kilos to 5 tons. We can find too the number of fishermen per vessel, 1 to 6 fishermen, and the fishing gears. The most used and the fishing gears and the fishing zones. The most used is hook and line and the manual long line. Other important characteristic is the familiar participation in the sealing the catch. And another one and the last is the high diversity of species in the lands. On the north coast of Bahia, we can find 115 species, most of which are reef fishes, but only 10% of these are targeted species in the main commercial market. Besides the mackerels and tunas, jacks and pamponos, and the groupers, we can find the snappers, the most important resource exploited in Bahia. Snappers in the north coast of Bahia is the most important resource in terms of economic value and in terms of volume of catch. I'm studying the reproductive biology of some species of snappers, 3, and little is known about the reproduction of these species. The long-term objective is to use this information as a tool to manage the species. But today, I will present the results for one of them, the land snapper. This map is showing my study area. North of Bahia, shown here with the red line. We carried out our surveys during 1 year, where we conduct a total of 24 surveys. In each survey, we fished during 5 days using 2 fishing methods, traps and hook and line, in traditional fisher areas. Hook and line is more used by fishermen, by local fishermen, but we use traps instead to increase the probability of the catchability of our target species, the snappers. We first identify the different stages of gonadal development, which I show here. And we use POFs as an indicator of spawning activity. We find all the stages of all sites occurring at the same time in the gonad. Therefore, the land snapper is a synchronous species. The spawning population is represented with the red, green, and yellow bars. And we observe that land snapper has a long spawning season that goes from August to May, with a clear peak in February, supported by the GSI results, represented here by the light brown line. These results led us to believe that the land snapper was a species of indeterminate fecundity. And so we use stereological methods to confirm our previous observations. Here we present the number of developable sites along the year. The light blue line is the real number of developing sites, and the dark blue is the relative NDO. Here you see that a large number of new sites are being recruited from December to April. And finally, these results support that this species is indeterminate. We estimate too also bed fecundity. We observed that the number of eggs produced by family increase with size. Unfortunately, this relationship is weak because of the small number of samples. But we can say that one batch can have between 500,000 eggs and up to 4 million oocytes. The little number of samples hydrated with hydrated oocytes did not allow us to estimate the spawning frequency, and so we don't have the spawning frequency. We estimate the length of maturity to be 17 centimeters, but only 2% of our samples is immature females. We believe that there is a geographic segregation, immature offshore and mature inshore, as in the other place of the circumtropical world, oceans. So, and so we can say that the land snapper is an asynchronous strategist, and it reproduces all year long. The land snap has a long reproductive season, and it has indeterminate fecundity, and so they are always ready to spawn. We know that the snappers are long-lived, that grows fast during the first years and slowly in following years. In the Caribbean and in the Gulf of Mexico, this species used to mature at 24 to 30 centimeters in length. However, some studies, after many years of high fishing pressure, the length of maturity has decreased to around 17 centimeters, as we can see in this study. Therefore, these results, the Caribbean results, could indicate that land snapper in Brazil have also modified their size at maturity. We don't have past studies of lengths of maturity to test this hypothesis. But we know that in Brazil, the catch of land snapper have decreased over time, which could be a sign of overfishing. But the interesting result is that during June and August, it is the rainy season in Brazil. Therefore, the fishing pressures are lower during these 2 months, and the fishing pressure is always high during the spawning season. After now we can to contribute with some recommendations. We know now there is an active clear spawning period, and we believe that the one spawning even lasts between 5 to 10 days. We didn't have the spawning frequency, but it is on base of another studies, and 2, in the knowledge of the fishermen. Therefore, we would recommend to reduce this fishing pressure or open to close areas to fishing from December to February. 2, however, the highest demand for fish in this area coincides with this period, driven by the high tourist season and Carnival national holidays. Therefore, how could we solve this problem? A possibility is to use fish traps, which are not traditional in the North Coast, instead of hooking line, because the snappers arrive alive at the surface. We can select size, the fishermen can select size, and we can release the smaller fish. But we must have in mind that the fishermen know very well the behavior of the species and the environment dynamics, and they are the main actors in artisanal fisheries. And so we are sure that any recommendation cannot be implemented without their participation and knowledge. Thank you very much. And feedback, Andy. We want to use the reproduction information of these species as a tool to improve their management. This is the outline of my presentation: artisanal fisheries, reproductive biology of snappers, how the reproduction in the Institute of Marine Research in Vigo with France, and I'm going to talk about the artisanal fisheries in Bahia, Brazil. I'm studying the reproductive biology of some reef fish species, and in this presentation, I would focus on one of them, the land snapper. National community for three possible reasons. The first one, the artisanal fisheries contribute about 30% of the total world catch for human consumption. The second one is that artisanal fisheries are the future.
Our next speaker is Iramaya de Santana, and she's going to speak to us about an evaluation of the artisanal fisheries based on reproduction information of lane snapper in the northern coast of Brazil.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Iramaya de Santana, and I'm doing my PhD thesis. Reproductive information of this species can be used as a tool to improve their management, and some recommendations. Okay, in the last decades, the artisanal fisheries has received attention from many researchers and the internet.